All right, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Chef Justin Fields' Exquisite Seafood. We're gonna be talking about whole fish cookery today, okay? So we have some snapper with some Branzino. We're gonna be doing that whole, one fried, one roasted. We have some beautiful ingredients that we have in front of us. Why don't you guys stay tuned and we'll get right into it. All right, so we're gonna get right into the cleaning of our fish. Let's talk about what we have here, right? So we have both a Branzino, AKA a Mediterranean sea bass, right? This guy's a little bit smaller than the other, but just keep in mind that there is some bone structure going on here. We asked for these to be gutted, right? So they took out all the entrails, all the insides of the fish. They also took out the gills for me. So these have the bone structure, everything intact. We still have the fins, we still have everything going on. We're gonna clean that up so that we have an easier eat for a whole fish once you get to the final presentation. Same deal over here with our snapper. We have a red snapper here, same, inside has been cleaned out, fins still attached, gills removed. One thing on both of these fish that you can look for when talking about freshness, right? As you're at the fish market, you're looking to purchase a whole fish. One of the clearest indicators are the eyes, right? Clear eyes is a great indicator of a clean, fresh fish. If you start seeing eyes that are cloudy, look a little bit off to the point that you can't even identify like the inside of the eye, it's a sign that's an older fish and you probably don't want it. One of the things that we look for is also the smell, right? Shouldn't smell fishy. These should smell of the sea, should smell like they were freshly caught, which they do, right? But we have two different styles over here. We're gonna start with the Branzino. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing is stuffing this with a few different items. We're gonna have this scored on the outside, stuffed with some flavorful aromatic ingredients, and then roast this thing in the oven. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna take my lemon and some garlic, right? These are gonna be the ingredients that go inside of this thing. This is a pretty big lemon, right? And I'm trying to stuff this to where it's kind of sticking out. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to, first and foremost, cut this in half, because it is so large. If it was a smaller lemon, I'll probably keep it whole. And then just start slicing about some 1/4-inch slices of this lemon. And that's what's gonna go inside of our fish once we have it seasoned. And then we have all of the excess bones removed from the fish, right? So we have those there, keep those right there. We're also gonna take some fresh garlic and slice that up as well, okay? So on the inside of this fish, we'll have sliced garlic, probably a little olive oil, a little bit of salt, pepper, but this will be a roast, right? So we're gonna keep that nice and plain and then finish it with a nice sauce that it'll be accompanied with, right? So this is a very simple way to approach cleaning or roasting a fish. So our Branzino, what we wanna do is we want to remove this collar, all right, that has this little fin on it. We're gonna take that off on both sides. We're gonna keep these fins and that fin, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna go along this back side and follow that spine and kind of butterfly this out on both sides. Not all the way through. We're gonna keep the tail attached, the head attached. We're gonna take out that kind of body structure, bone structure inside the fish, right? So first things first, I do have some shears and I have a small paring knife to do some of the finer work. You could use a boning knife, something more flexible. I kind of like to use my shears and a little bit of a sharp paring knife. So first and foremost, these fins, right? Here's a little bit of a collar here, as well as the fin. So what I'm gonna do is actually take my shears and go right behind these fins right there, and then snip that out on both sides, okay? What you end up with is something that looks kind of like that. When you go to restaurants, a lot of restaurants currently, or for the past few years, have been doing fish collars, or fish wings, if you will. And this is the part that they use. They're using these collars that still have a little bit of meat on them. I like the idea of a fish wing because it is a similar eating experience to a chicken wing. You have the bone structure and there's some meat and you kind of nibble it off. A lot of restaurants do this with hamachi, a lot of different fish. We're not doing that today, but just kind of wanted to let you know what that was and why we do it, okay? So we have that done, both sides, all the way through. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go along both sides of this fin and take out the internal bone structure. So what I like to do is I like to take my fish, I'm right-handed, so hold that down with my left side, and I'm taking my knife, right? The bone structure follows that fin all the way down. I'm taking my knife and just going down both sides of that bone structure. I'm gonna start with my small paring knife and go, and I start feeling where that bone is. And then I'm basically putting that knife through, pushing down and following the bone structure all the way to the end, right? Just make sure that I made it all the way through there. I'm taking up my bigger knife now that I have a nice pocket. And then we are following that all the way down. I'm lifting that belly because I don't want to lose all that belly meat, right? So the other side, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Follow that backbone all the way down until you reach that tail. I'm making sure that I'm not going underneath and not scooping out those fins right there, but following this all the way to the end, lifting so I don't cut off too much of that belly, right? And then we are at this point. So we have it butterflied, and you can see that kind of bone structure kind of sticking out just like that, okay? Now this is where we go back to our shears, right? Because what you're gonna do is you're gonna go inside where this bone structure lives, right? And we're just gonna snip that out. One, and then towards the head it might be a little bit thicker, so just apply some force, make sure that you have some nice sharp shears there. And then this is what you end up with, right? So all that bone structure is right there. If you wanted to, you could take this, season it up, throw it on the grill. This is like a chef snack. You could kind of snack on that as well, but individuals that don't like bones don't like to play with that. So you can put that to the side as well. So now that you have that, this is where you are, right? Fully butterflied, a little bit of bone left in there, right? You have your head, you have your tail, right? I'm gonna just go inside and just slightly take out these almost like rib bones right here, which go along. I can feel them right there. And again, taking my knife, and as I'm feeling with my left hand, taking my knife and just following that up. And then we're gonna remove that as well. Right, so they go down pretty far, right? One side, and then we take that on the other side over here and just follow that down as well. So feeling for my bone. Don't be afraid to move it around, get where you need to get. And then just taking that out just slightly, just like that. All right, so both sides are now cleaned. You have a beautiful flesh. Your bone structure is gone, but we have all this beautiful stuff that you can kind of stuff with, right? Okay, so now that we have our fish butterflied, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna start to kind of fill this thing out. Now, what you wanna do at this point, we're gonna stuff this and kind of skewer it. You can use twine, you can use string, but we wanna season it first because this is gonna be your first and only chance to season the inside of the fish. So we're gonna go very lightly, salt, right? Freshly cracked black pepper. And we're gonna drizzle this with some olive oil as well. All right, so give that a little bit of a spread, make sure that everybody's playing nice. I'm also feeling for bones and things of that nature. Got a little one right there. We're gonna pull that out. Right, but our fish is beautifully seasoned, olive oil, ready to go. So at this point, we are now stuffing. So we said sliced garlic, we have that in there. Make sure that's completely covered. And then we also have this sliced lemon, which I'm just gonna shingle over the top. You can see why we have that lemon, because just the halves is almost covering that all the way. So you're good to go. All right, so we're gonna stuff that in just as such. This side goes over. What I'm gonna do at this point is just give this a light score along the outside at an angle. So I'm just gonna kind of pinch the fish and give it a light score, right? This will help it cook evenly. This will also help for the flavors to kind of permeate through the fish and then come out on the other side. Gently fold that over, just like that. And then we're gonna score this side as well. I like to do this after just because everything that's inside of the fish helps to keep the integrity of the fish and everything from not breaking down. So as we said before, you can utilize twine, a few different things to skewer this up and make sure that it stays closed. One great option are skewers, right? So what I essentially like to do is to kind of take this and weave it through the fish to kind of keep it closed. So I have this bottom side right here, and I'm just gonna poke that through, actually through one of those scores, right? You're going through that one side, and then I'm looking to come through the bottom to weave this through the top. And that's essentially what you're looking for right there. Right, so my fish is skewered, and it should stay closed throughout the roasting process. Right, I'm just gonna kind of take everything right there. Over the top, a little bit more. Salt, pepper, and olive oil. We'll spread that out nice over the fish. And that's all she wrote, right, for that style, okay? So, like we said, we're gonna do one fried version and then one roasted version. We have our pan right here, right? And we have our oven set to about 375 or so. And what I'm gonna do is just slide this right over here. Actually, you know what? Let me give that a flip and get some olive oil and salt and pepper on the other side as well. If you have a little bit that falls out, that's fine. This is all for flavor. What you're gonna be doing at the end is kind of opening this thing up and allowing the fish to just kind of shine after you have all those flavors already situated inside. All right, so let's rub that down. I like this other side to be my bottom, so just give that a flip. All right, my lemons are there. Put that bad boy right there. And then we are good to go into the oven, just as such. Let's put that to the side and talk about our snapper. All right, so we did our Branzino. We have that ready to go in the oven. Now let's talk about our snapper. We are essentially going to be doing the same cuts on the snapper that we did on the Branzino. Now that I'm looking at it, I think we're gonna keep the wings and prepare them the same way that we're gonna be doing the entire snapper. So, again, we're gonna be going down both sides. We're gonna be removing our fin right there and making sure that this is good to go and as boneless as it could possibly be for a whole fish. So, like we said, same exact moves, right? We're going behind this collar and we're just gonna snip that out. Give that a pull back, snip it, right? Imagine a bowl of those as like fish wings, right? Buffalo style, something like that. You're gonna see a little bit of that today. So other side, when they butterflied this or took the insides, they kind of caught both of these fins on one side. So I'm gonna make sure to take both of those off as well, right? So double fin on this side, going right up that. Good angle, give it a pull back, you feel the bone pop, and then a strong shear, and that's what you have, your wings right there. So now that we have that, a note of caution, right? These barbs on the top of that snapper, they hurt like hell when you get them in your finger, right? So when you're cleaning a whole snapper like this, just be really careful about that. They really hurt. It can linger for a little bit. It can affect you if the fish is not kind of handled properly. So just watch out for that. But we are going to go down the side of this fish using our knife and just kind of, just like we said, this is a bigger fish, so it just takes a little bit more effort to get it the right way. But as you can see, I'm pushing down, I'm pulling up my belly, and I'm looking to come through, going all the way to the head. Right, and then I pull that out, lift my belly, and I'm essentially dragging that all the way through, not all the way to the tail, and I'm lifting my fillet, right? And I have my bone on the bottom of that. Same thing on the other side. Sharp knife, get it started. Try to get all the way through, right? And then feeling for that bone structure, keeping my knife flat, lift my belly, come all the way through, and then bring it home on this side. Right? So I'm still attached on both sides. I have my shears that I come through with. And like, again, very bigger fish, so apply a little bit of force, you cut through. And then on this side, watch out for those barbs coming through and cutting that on that side as well. So you end up with all the bones out of the fish, and then clean fish right there with 2 fillets, just like that. Now I'm feeling along both sides. I still have a little bit of rib structure there. So I'm just gonna cut that just slightly to open it up. And then using this bigger knife, because I have a bigger fish, just take those ribs, pushing down, feeling for them with my knife, and just following that bone structure all the way down. Taking off a little bit of that belly as such to remove that. That comes out, right? And then I'm going to my other side right here. And then I'm removing those ribs as well. So I'm right-handed, so just kind of moving this around to get the right angle for my knife. Feeling for the bones. And then just sliding my knife across them and bringing that back home right there. All right, so what you're left with is a whole snapper, head on, tail on, with 2 clean fillets right there. Right, so at this point, what we are gonna do is we are going to get into how we're gonna season and dredge this one. We're gonna keep those wings right there and utilize those, but what we're gonna do is something called velvetizing, okay? So this is a technique out of almost like Chinese cookery, to where if you've ever had like General Chow's chicken or sesame chicken or anything like that, it's a flash fry on the protein before it goes into the saute pan to give it crispness, to give it body. And what we're gonna do is kind of mimic that same kind of texture on the fish. What that is this combination of egg white and then into cornstarch. And that's how we're gonna coat this. So making sure that this is clean. I'm gonna give this a quick rinse in our sink and we're gonna coat this up. Okay, so we've just rinsed our fish, got all the excess scales, anything that you don't want going on. Simple seasoning again, salt, pepper. We're not gonna do any oil on this one because this one is getting fried. So, and we're gonna have a flavorful sauce over it, which is a little bit different than what we're gonna do with the other fish. So once again, a quick score, taking my fish, kind of bending that flesh a little bit just to get it to jump up a little bit so I can score it, right, on both sides. And I'm going with the angle of where we pulled those fins out of the collar, okay? So both sides there. Now, egg white. We're gonna coat this thing in egg whites, right? So we have maybe about 6 to 7 egg whites that we've whisked up right here. And all we're gonna do is kind of just pour that right over and rub it in. So this is going to be what helps the cornstarch adhere. And as you know, eggs, especially egg white is the protein of the egg, right? It's the structure. So anytime you're using egg whites, if you've ever made a meringue or anything of that nature, those egg whites, whipping them, right? The protein in the egg white is what keeps it whipped and keeps it stiff. So we're trying to almost mimic that same type of profile. So from here, we will be going directly into our cornstarch. So we have cornstarch right here. And what I'm trying to do is just coat this thing on all sides with this cornstarch. Make sure it's completely coated, even the head. Right, when I'm eating whole fish, I love to see the head. It's an indicator of freshness. It tells you a lot about the fish, just having the head on. A lot of people, it's a delicacy to eat fish eyeballs in a lot of countries. And it's not bad, it's a textural thing. Some people like it, some don't. But that's what you want. You're totally coated on all sides, you're coated on the inside, tail attached, head attached, and we are now ready to go into the fryer. All right, so we have both our fish prepared. One is gonna go into the oven, the other one is going to fry. So we have our Branzino right here. We have our oven set at 375 convection. And we're just gonna put this in. I'm thinking of a fish the size of this, approximately 10 minutes, maybe 15, right? We're just gonna check on it. Don't want it to overcook. I would prefer you undercook a little bit and let that carry over cook and do the rest so we don't dry it out. But we do have our whole snapper, which has been dredged right here. We also saved the wings, right? So huge cauldron right here of hot oil. It is not smoking, right? But it is hot. We, do have a big fish here, so you don't want it to be too hot to where everything crisps up before the inside of the fish cooks. You want a nice even heat so that everything cooks nice and even. and then you get a beautiful crust on the outside. So let me just show you how I like to put this in, right? So it's important you don't just drop this in. It's important that you open this up, right? And what I like to do is I like to angle the fish as such. So you have almost this basket that forms with the fish, right? I'm just gonna pour that in to our oil, just like that. What I'm doing is, something that they call a swim technique. I am allowing the bottom to cook before I put it all the way in so it doesn't like really burn. And then the other sides of the fish, I just drop in just like that. I may hold this tail just for a second so it kind of sets in place. Doesn't move too much, there it is, right? And let me just rinse my hands, we'll talk about the next steps of this. So our snapper is in, we go ahead and throw our wings in as well, right? Crusted and fried the same way. But what I have in addition to that, I have a ladle, some tongs, a spider, some different things just to kind of manage what's happening here. So my ladle, my fish head and my tail are kind of sticking out a little bit. So I like to take my ladle and kind of pour that over and allow the fish and the tail to cook evenly, right? Your fish is gonna have that oil bubble up through it. I actually see the oil bubbling through its mouth, meaning that it is being cooked from the bottom, but I wanna make sure that everything cooks evenly and I have this beautiful crust. Doing that velvetized move on the fish, right, with the egg white and cornstarch, yields you a very crispy coat. It's very light in color as well. So it just shows up very nicely on the plate. And after this is done, you'll kind of see it almost creates this, the way we cut the fish creates this natural bowl to where you can put different things on the inside of it. And that's how I really like to have fried fish like that, is to have some fresh ingredients along with it to kind of eat along with it, especially when it doesn't have as many bones as we've done here. So we'll let that do its thing and keep working this thing as it cooks. Stay tuned. Okay, so our fish looks really good. At this point, I just want to caution you on just being careful on transferring the fish, making sure that it's, stays in its whole form. We spend a lot of time to make sure that it looks good, whole form without a bunch of bones. When you're transferring this out, just make sure that you're following suit and doing what you need to do for this thing to come out the right way. So that being said, I do have a fish spatula right here. I have a pair of tongs right there. Make sure that those are open, ready to go. And I have this spider right here. So what I'm probably gonna do is try to get underneath my head with the spider, underneath the body with my fish spat. You got a pretty hard fry here, so I'm not particularly worried that it'll fall apart on me, but you just never know. So under the head, under the body, a little bit of drain action going on. And then we're just gonna transfer that right to our deal right there. All right. Right, and then we also said fish wings, right? So we have those wings coming out. Why throw out the wings? Fry them up. You're already doing the rest of the body. Look at that. Look at that wing popping up. It's just like a chicken wing. You pick that little fin up, chew that meat off, great experience. Let's take a look at our fish in the oven. Give that a check. All right, and we're just about there. I'm gonna get a little bit more texture on the outside of my fish, but that's looking damn good. Give it about 5 more minutes. All right, now that we have that, let's get over to plating the snapper up. Okay, so both of our fish are ready. Our roasted Branzino, we have taken out of the oven. We have removed our skewer and pulled the lemon out, right? It has perfumed the fish. You don't want to eat that along with the rind, right? It's all about perfuming the fish and just kind of having these cooked fillets ready to go. On the plate, we have prepared our romesco, right? Very simple, roasted red bell peppers, some almonds, olive oil, a little bit of red wine vinegar, salt, pepper, and a little bit of lemon juice that we added here, but we also added the seared lemon to the side. Very simply dressed light greens on the plate. And essentially, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna plate this up, okay? So we have our fish right here, and we're just gonna lay that on the plate as such, okay? So if you're at home, right, this is a great family style type of dish. You have your fish, you kind of flake off a little bit, add some romesco, share it around the table, squeeze a little lemon, a little bit of the greens to the side, good to go. Very simple dish to do, right? For a whole fish kind of preparation and look. Don't be scared of the eyes, they have a lot of flavor. Check them out, try them, don't be scared of them, all right? On to our next one, right? A little bit more simple. We talked about this beautiful cutting of the fish. As you get these bigger fish, it's a lot more fun to plate because you have a lot more of that flesh to work with, right? So we have our wings, we have our snapper. Pretty cool structure there. You see how it crisped up? You have that beautiful velvetized kind of crunch on the outside of it. Very interesting looking, right? And I'm just going to put my wings on either side as if it was still swimming around in the ocean, okay? So we have that right there. What I'm gonna do is we made a chimichurri, okay? So made our romesco, we also made a chimichurri, which is essentially some fresh herbs, parsley, cilantro, again, red wine vinegar, a lot of garlic, and we kind of slowly added some olive oil to that to make it emulsified. And that's what we have right here. So very simply seasoned, but what we're gonna do is take that squeeze bottle with that chimichurri and just give this a drizzle over the top, right? So you have that flavor melding down, a little bit on top of these wings as well, right? A little bit around the plate. This stuff is delicious, right? And it kind of soaks in to that fish. What we're gonna do on top of that, you have this beautiful cavity right here. I'm gonna make a little salad, right? Keep it real simple. So we have some nice fresh greens here. Nice spring mix, nothing too crazy. And then we have a nice assortment of items. We have some tomatoes, some radish, some of those long sweet peppers, just thinly sliced, and some mini cucumber. So we're just gonna take a little bit of each one of these and add it to our bowl. The tomato, the radish, right? A nice, you have this heavily fried fish on the plate. Doing this nice salad to the side, really lightens everything up, and it's also a great color that will come on top of your fish. Fresh lemon, just like that. Salt, pepper, very light. And then again, just a little bit of olive oil to coat that salad. Very light. All right, and then we're taking that and we're tossing it, right? Everything together. Lemon, beautiful, crisp veggies, right? Nice and fresh. The olive oil, along with that chimichurri. And then inside this little basket is where everything will live, right? So we're going right on top of that snapper. Get some nice height to it, right? Just imagine, take your fork and knife and just kind of cut down into that fish, which has been topped with chimichurri. And then you get a bite of all those beautiful ingredients right on top, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more of that chimi so we sell it. And then why not? Let's put some limes around, right? Who doesn't love a little bit of fresh lime on top of some fried fish? And there you go, guys. So whole fish cookery, snapper, and then Branzino. We're talking American waters, Mediterranean waters, a little bit of romesco on this side, seared lemon, right? That fresh approach, that velvetized kind of fry, which is almost Chinese, right? Mixing that with almost like a very Caribbean style of pickup, with top with the fresh items, a little bit of lime. I mean, come on, guys, you cannot go wrong here. Don't throw those wings away, use them, eat them, just like chicken wings. All right, guys, I mean, look at these beautiful plates. Two styles of whole fish, right? This snapper is my favorite, I'm not gonna lie to you, kind of looks like a dragon or something on that plate with those wings, the chimichurri, that fresh, I'd pay a good 35 to 40 bucks for that. Shareable, you and the family, I mean, you cannot go wrong. A little bit more simple on this side, Branzino, right? Smaller fish, right? But you kind of pass this around the table, everybody gets a little chunk, a little bit of sauce, some greens, some lemon. Great family style, like Sunday dinner type of approach here, all right? But if you have any issues whatsoever on any of these dishes, right? If you're fearful of kind of breaking them down, tell your fishmonger, hey, I want the whole fish, but take the gills out, take the fins off, right? Get that bone structure out of there. You can definitely do that and just follow these recipes to get some awesome plates. Any questions at all, Chef J Fields TV, Instagram, Facebook, Gmail, and TikTok. I'll be back again, but until then, stay tuned and never stop cooking, guys. Cheers.